Have you ever noticed that the more you chase approval, the less you feel like you belong? Have you ever wondered why the moment you stop begging for permission, life starts opening doors you did not even know existed? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about the turning point that looks selfish to people who only understand sacrifice, but looks like awakening to people who understand the mind. Choosing yourself, not as ego, not as pushing others down, not as pretending you do not need anyone. Choosing yourself as a spiritual decision, a karmic decision, a decision to stop abandoning your own heart. Here are the two main truths we will carry through this story. First, when you do not choose yourself, you still choose something. You choose fear. You choose performance. You choose the hunger to be liked. And that hunger quietly shapes your destiny. Second, when you choose yourself with wisdom and compassion, you stop leaking energy into self-betrayal. And that reclaimed energy becomes clarity, boundaries, steadiness, and surprisingly, better relationships and better opportunities. Not because life is rewarding you like a vending machine, but because your karma changes when your actions stop coming from desperation. Now let me tell you a story. There was a person named Ava. Ava was the kind of person people described with warm words. Helpful, reliable, the one who always answers, the one who always shows up, the one who never says no. On the outside, Ava looked like the type of person you would want in your life. And to be honest, Ava had a good heart. Ava cared. Ava wanted people to be okay. But inside, Ava carried a quiet exhaustion that nobody saw. It was not the normal tiredness of a busy week. It was deeper. It was the tiredness of living two lives at once. The outer life where Ava smiled and agreed and supported. And the inner life where Ava felt resentful, guilty, afraid, and strangely lonely even while being surrounded by people who depended on her. Ava did not understand this contradiction for a long time. How can I be lonely if I am always with people? How can I be resentful if I am the one choosing to help? How can I feel empty if everyone says I am a good person? The answer was simple and painful. Ava was giving to be safe, not giving to be free. Ava learned early that love felt warmer when Ava was convenient. Praise arrived when Ava performed. Attention arrived when Ava solved problems. And so Ava became skilled at reading rooms, skilled at anticipating needs, skilled at disappearing inside service. This is how many people become kind. Not only from compassion, but also from fear. Fear of being rejected, fear of being disliked, fear of being called selfish, fear of conflict, fear of abandonment. So Ava lived as if being needed was the price of belonging. If you have ever done that, you know the hidden cost. When you are loved only for what you provide, you begin to believe your existence alone is not enough. Your worth becomes a job you must keep doing. And jobs have no finish line. Ava had a friend group that looked close. They talked often. They made plans. They shared jokes. People tagged each other in photos. From the outside, it looked like connection. But inside, Ava felt like a tool. When someone needed advice, they called Ava. When someone needed a ride, they called Ava. When someone needed help moving, they called Ava. When someone needed emotional support at midnight, they called Ava. When Ava needed something, Ava hesitated to ask. Ava did not want to be a burden. Ava did not want to seem needy. Ava did not want to risk being less lovable. So Ava swallowed needs and called it maturity. Over time, swallowing needs becomes bitterness. Bitterness does not always scream. Sometimes bitterness whispers. It shows up as a small tightness when the phone rings, a small irritation when someone asks for one more favor, a small sadness when you realize people know your usefulness but not your inner world. Ava began to notice a pattern. After helping people, Ava did not feel warm. Ava felt drained and quietly angry, then ashamed for being angry, then determined to be even nicer to cover the shame. That cycle is suffering. Not because helping is wrong, but because self-abandonment is wrong. One evening, Ava had a moment that looked ordinary but changed everything. Ava came home after a long day and saw a message from a friend named Liam. "Can you come over right now? I really need to talk." Ava stared at the message. The body reacted instantly. A familiar mix of duty and panic. Of course I should go. Good friends show up. If I do not go, I am selfish. If I do not go, I might lose the friendship. Then Ava looked around the room and realized something. Ava had not eaten. Ava had not rested. Ava had not had one quiet hour to breathe in days. Ava felt like a candle burning from both ends. Ava sat down and felt the truth rise in the chest like a wave. "I do not want to go." That sentence felt forbidden. Ava almost pushed it away. But then another sentence rose. "I do not want to go because I am empty." Then, another sentence. "I have been empty for a long time." Ava felt tears. Not dramatic, just honest. Tears that come when your nervous system finally stops pretending. Ava typed a response to Liam. "I care about you. I cannot come tonight. I need rest. Can we talk tomorrow?" Ava stared at the message before sending. The inner judge screamed, "You are selfish. You are failing. You are abandoning him." Ava breathed once, then sent it. Then Ava felt something new. Not because of the message, but because Ava had stepped out of an old identity. When you have lived as the helper, choosing yourself feels like stepping off a cliff. The mind predicts punishment. Ava waited for the punishment. A few minutes later, Liam replied, "Okay, I hope you are all right." That was it. No explosion, no rejection, no public shame. Just a normal response. Ava felt relief and confusion. The inner judge had predicted disaster. Reality did not match the prediction. That gap is awakening. Awakening begins when you notice how often the mind threatens you with stories that are not true. But the night did not end there. Ava turned off the phone and tried to rest. The body was exhausted, but the mind stayed loud. What if Liam thinks I do not care? What if everyone leaves? What if I become alone? What if I am actually selfish? What if I am a bad person? Ava realized something important. Choosing yourself once is not the end of the path. It is the beginning. Because the real battle is not only with other people's expectation. The real battle is with your own conditioning. Conditioning says love is earned. Conditioning says boundaries are dangerous. Conditioning says your needs are inconvenient. Conditioning says if you choose yourself, you will be punished. Ava did not know what to do with this storm. So Ava did something simple. Ava sat on the floor, placed a hand on the chest, and breathed slowly. Not to force calm, but to stay present. As Ava breathed, Ava remembered a phrase heard in a talk about midfulsons. Do not abandon yourself in pain. Ava realized the whole life had been abandoning the self in pain. The moment fear appeared, Ava would run to people-pleasing. The moment guilt appeared, Ava would run to overgiving. The moment loneliness appeared, Ava would run to performance. Now, Ava tried a new response. Stay. Stay with the discomfort without obeying the old strategy. This is the middle way. Not indulging the fear by running to fix it. Not suppressing the fear by pretending it is not there. Just staying. Breathing. Witnessing. Allowing the nervous system to learn that discomfort is not death. The next morning, Ava woke up with a strange sensation. Lightness. Not happiness like fireworks. Lightness like less weight in the chest. Ava went to work and noticed something else. The world looked the same, but Ava's posture was different. Ava moved a little slower. Ava spoke a little more honestly. Ava did not rush to fill every silence. Ava noticed needs in the body earlier. Then a co-worker asked Ava for a favor. Something small but time-consuming. Normally Ava would say yes instantly. This time Ava paused. In that pause, Ava heard two voices. The old voice said yes immediately. Be good. Be safe. A newer voice said check your capacity. Ava checked. Ava already had too much. Ava said, I cannot today. The co-worker frowned slightly, then nodded and asked someone else. Again. No disaster. Ava felt the same mix of relief and fear. Relief because the boundary worked. Fear because the identity was shifting. Ava began to practice this pause more often. Before saying yes, Ava paused. Before agreeing, Ava paused. Before apologizing, Ava paused. Before explaining, Ava paused. Each pause was like a small gate opening in the mind. Ava realized that many yes answers were not generosity. They were fear. Fear disguised as kindness. Fear disguised as loyalty. Fear disguised as goodness. This is where wisdom enters. Wisdom can tell the difference between compassion and self-erasure. True compassion includes yourself. If your compassion excludes you, it becomes martyrdom. Martyrdom becomes resentment. Resentment becomes hidden aggression. Hidden aggression harms relationships more than honest boundaries ever could. So Ava began choosing a different karma. Karma is cause and effect in attention and action. If Ava repeatedly abandoned the self, Ava harvested exhaustion and resentment. If Ava repeatedly honored the self, Ava harvested steadiness and clarity. Steadiness and clarity changed everything. Now, I want to show you something important. Choosing yourself does not mean you become cold. In fact, when you stop resenting, you become warmer. Ava noticed that after setting boundaries, when Ava did help someone, it felt different. It felt clean. Ava helped because Ava wanted to, not because Ava was terrified. Helping from fear feels like pressure. Helping from choice feels like love. This is why choosing yourself can make everything come to you. Not because the universe is a cashier handing you prizes. Because you stop leaking your life force, and that life force returns as presence. Presence is attractive. Presence changes conversations. Presence changes the way people trust you. Presence changes the way you show up. Ava began noticing that some friendships shifted. A few people who used Ava for endless support began fading when Ava stopped being endlessly available. At first, Ava felt sad and guilty. Then, Ava saw the truth. Those connections were built on excess, not on mutual care. When you choose yourself, some people will call it selfish because it changes what they can take from you. This is not a reason to hate them. It is a reason to see clearly. Seeing clearly is awakening. Other friendships deepened. People who actually cared about Ava began respecting the boundaries. Some even felt inspired. One friend admitted they also struggled to say no. They started practicing too. Their friendship became more honest. Ava also noticed something unexpected. Opportunities at work improved, not magically, practically. Because Ava stopped being the person who always said yes and then quietly burned out. Ava became the person who said yes selectively, and then delivered with quality. Ava became less scattered. Ava became more focused. Ava started speaking up about what Ava could realistically do. People began trusting Ava more because Ava's words matched Ava's capacity. That is integrity. Integrity is a spiritual practice. Integrity is the alignment between inner truth and outer action. When you choose yourself, you stop lying through overpromising. You stop performing agreement while feeling resentment. You stop smiling while you are drowning. You become real. Realness is peace. Now the story deepens further. Because Ava discovered that choosing yourself is not only about boundaries with others, it is also about your inner relationship. Ava had an inner critic that never stopped. Even when Ava set boundaries, the critic attacked. You are selfish. You are weak. You are disappointing people. Ava realized that if the inner critic stays in charge, you can set out her boundaries and still suffer. So Ava practiced another kind of choosing yourself. Choosing yourself means choosing how you speak to yourself. When the critic attacked, Ava practiced naming it. Critic voice is here. Then, Ava practiced a compassionate response. This is hard. And I am human. At first this felt fake. Then it felt like relief. Not because the critic vanished, but because Ava stopped believing every sentence. This is mindfulness applied to identity. Thoughts are not commands. Emotions are not verdicts. They are experiences arising and passing. When you stopped reading inner storms as final truth, you stopped being owned. This is liberation. Now, Ava had a moment that tested the whole path. Liam, the friend from earlier, came back again with a crisis. This time Liam sounded angry. You have been distant lately. Ava felt the old panic. The old strategy would be to apologize and overgive to repair the relationship. Ava paused. Ava breathed. Ava felt the body. Then Ava spoke honestly. I am not distant. I am taking care of myself. I can still care about you. And I also need balance. I am here to talk, but I cannot be available at every moment. Liam scoffed. So now you are too good for me. Ava felt a spike of pain. This is where many people collapse. They guilt hook and they run back into self-abandonment. Ava stayed present. I am not too good for you. I am trying to be healthy. If you want connection, we can talk in a way that works for both of us. There was silence. Then Liam said quietly, I guess I am scared you will leave. Ava felt compassion rise. This was not manipulation. This was fear. Ava realized something. Choosing yourself can bring up fear in others, especially if they depended on your constant availability to regulate their emotions. Ava responded with compassion and wisdom. I am not leaving. I am changing how I show up. I still care. I just cannot sacrifice myself. Liam did not become perfect instantly, but a new relationship became possible. A relationship where Ava was not the emotional caretaker who carried everything. A relationship where both people had to take responsibility for their feelings. This is how choosing yourself improves relationships. It removes hidden contracts. Hidden contract says I will be everything for you so you never leave me. That contract creates resentment. Choosing yourself ends the contract. It replaces it with honest agreement. Now I want to bring in the spiritual point very clearly. In Buddhist wisdom, suffering is often created by clinging and aversion. Ava clung to being liked. Ava clung to being needed. Ava clung to the identity of the good one. Ava was averse to conflict. Ava was averse to disappointing people. Ava was averse to feeling guilt. These clinging and aversions shaped Ava action. That is karma. When Ava began choosing self-respect, clinging weakened. When clinging weakened, fear weakened. When fear weakened, clarity grew. When clarity grew, compassion became cleaner. This is not selfishness. This is awakening. Awakening is not floating above life. Awakening is seeing the mind habits that create suffering, then practicing a wiser way. Ava also learned impermanence in a new way. Ava realized that some people will come and go. Some phases of life will change. Some friendships will end. Some identities will dissolve. If you cling to everything, you suffer more. If you accept change, you can love more cleanly. Choosing yourself is also choosing to stop forcing everyone to stay by sacrificing your truth. Truth is what makes love real. Now many people here choose yourself and they imagine ego. So let us be precise. Ego choosing says I choose myself by taking from others. Wisdom choosing says I choose myself by stopping self-betrayal. Ego choosing says my needs matter and yours do not. Compassion choosing says my needs matter and yours matter too. So we will find a way that does not harm either. This is the middle way. Now, the story moves toward the part that makes people emotional, because it touches destiny. Ava began noticing that life started offering different mirrors. When Ava walked into a room, Ava no longer scanned for approval as intensely. Ava no longer performed as hard. Ava's presence became steadier. People responded differently. Some people respected it. Some people tested it. Some people did not know how to relate to it. But overall, Ava life became less chaotic. Less chaos is not boring. Less chaos is peace. Peace gave Ava the energy to pursue things that actually mattered. Ava started learning a skill that had always been postponed. Ava started creating something. Not for validation, but because it felt meaningful. Ava started taking care of the body in a sustainable way. Not as punishment, but as respect. This is what it means when people say everything comes to you when you choose yourself. It is not that gifts fall from the sky. It is that you stop blocking the flow by abandoning yourself. When you stop abandoning yourself, you can receive. You can receive compliments without needing them to survive. You can receive love without clinging. You can receive opportunities without fear of failing. You can receive solitude without calling it rejection. Receiving is a skill. Choosing yourself develops that skill. Now I want to share the deeper reflection that many viewers resonate with. Many people think choosing yourself will make you lonely, but the opposite is often true. When you stop performing, you attract relationships that match the real you. When you stop overgiving, you learn who truly reciprocates. When you stop lying through yes answers, you build trust. When you stop using self-sacrifice as proof of worth, you stop resenting people you love. That is real intimacy. Real intimacy is not constant agreement. Real intimacy is honesty plus kindness. Now let me close the story with a final scene. Months after the first boundary with Liam, Ava sat in a quiet park. The sun was low. The air was cool. Ava felt the body breathe more freely. Ava realized that the inner manager was still there sometimes, but it was no longer the ruler. Ava thought about the old life, the life of constant yes, the life of being needed, the life of fearing the word selfish. Ava realized something simple. I used to think choosing myself would make me worse. Choosing myself made me real. And in being real, Ava became more compassionate, not less. Because compassion without self-respect is not compassion. It is self-erasure. Ava finally understood the paradox. When you choose yourself with wisdom, you stop demanding that others carry your unspoken needs. You stop manipulating for love. You stop begging. You start relating. Relating is freedom. Now, I want to speak to you directly. If you have been afraid to choose yourself, ask yourself what you are really afraid of. Are you afraid of being disliked? Are you afraid of conflict? Are you afraid of abandonment? Are you afraid of being called selfish? Are you afraid of losing an identity you have been using to survive? Then ask yourself a deeper question. What is the cost of not choosing yourself? The cost is usually exhaustion, resentment, quiet bitterness, losing yourself, feeling lonely even with people, feeling anxious even with achievements. Choosing yourself begins with one small practice. Pause before yes. Feel your body. Check your capacity. Speak a simple truth kindly. Then breathe through the guilt wave without obeying it. That is practice. Practice changes karma. Karma changes destiny. In the comments, share one place where you want to choose yourself this week. One boundary. One honest no. One moment of rest without guilt. One moment of speaking kindly to yourself instead of attacking yourself. Share it. And if you want, share what you fear will happen if you do. If you want more long-form stories like this, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and keep the conversation alive. Choosing yourself is not the end of love. Choosing yourself is the beginning of clean love. Thank you for being here with me. See you in the next video.